You are most welcome. This is Libe Africa TV. You are most welcome. Subscribe, please. This is Libe Africa TV. So today we are just going to look on the slavery in Africa. We know one of the most things which made Africa to be back, to be underdeveloped, was slavery. What was slavery? So slavery was the first class of antagonism in human history, meaning which was manifested in a notorious form of exploitation. So the Africans were exploited by the Arabs, by the whites, and suppression and humiliation. This economic system created the possibilities of some people live on the sweat of others, the government, individuals, and indeed many administrative powers on the slaves. In most cases, a few lords or masters became masters of others and their labor. Slaves were considered to work for their masters. Slave owners had a complete grip over both the means of production and the slaves. Also, slaves were disowned their rights as were brought and sold like cattle or killed freely. Slave owners forced their slaves to work hard, but in turn were provided with the minimal means of subsistence, just enough to keep them in working routine. Thus, they were regarded as mechanical executors of someone else's will. Besides, slave masters never gave any personal material incentives for this labor. In some parts of the world, they were debarred from marrying. The masters categorized them as cattle. You see, the surplus product of the slaves was distributed in the following ways. A part of it went to the slaveholding state in the form of taxes for the support of the interests of the ruling class, and the other was presented to owner of the capital. That was slave mode of production. How slave trade killed the economic and the confidences among the Africans. So slave labor was employed to build cities and large structures such as the Egyptian pyramids. You might have experienced how the pyramids were built in Egypt. These were built by the slaves, you see. So the other work done was to construct dams and irrigation schemes in Egypt. Slaves mined silver, gold, and iron, and they were used as domestic servants in different Asian states. Slavery in Africa never existed as an institution except in Egypt, Muslim communities, and on the coast of East Africa. You might have experienced people from Brazil. These are Red Indies. You might have experienced people living at Dakota, living in different places. Those were or Tobago, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. These are the results of slaves or slavery, slavery business. You can see. So you cannot hide this history. That's why there is a certain saying that men and women do lie, but numbers never lie. Men and women can lie, but numbers never lie. So the people, you can find the people of Brazil, Costa Rica, some of the Afro whites people or communities. These are results of slavery movements here and there. The people of Zanzibar in Africa, Zenji, when Zanzibar comes from the word Zenj. Zenj means, Zenj is the Arabic word. Zenj means black people. Zanzibar, Zanzibar. That means black people. You can find that many people in Zanzibar, blacks and whites, have been intermarried or intermingled in marriage in their marriages. So all these were the impacts of these uh, business movements from one place to another place. So this integration of slavery, the inherent of and irreconcilable contradictions within the slave set in its demise, the class struggle between the toilers and the exploiters precipitated the crisis and dwarfed its development. So slavery made the underdevelopment of Africa. That's why we can assess the work, the greatest work of Walter Rodney, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. Now you can see. Bob Marley once saying that if you don't know your history, you cannot know your destiny. Then the outcome of this was the destruction of property and the stagnation, as the masters and the free masses did not participate in the production. That's why during the slavery trade, of course, the Africans could not participate their everyday works for their own existence. So they all participated to produce the production and the development of their masters. So the Africans remained poor and poor, and hence they were mislocated from one place to another place. This is Father Ribeiro, the historian, writer, author, and the linguistic of different languages, international ones and the local ones. So subscribe this channel, please, if you want to know all things about Africa. So the impact of slave trade. The slave resistance gripped the economic and the military muscles of the masters. As their military power was weakened, colonial subjugation and the plunder were hampered as major source of state wealth and slavery. Finally, slavery lost its importance. In Rome, for example, slave masters allowed the slaves to pay money in order to be liberated. You see, now it was a kind of dehumanization and torture. So the growth of productive forces and the emergence of more and advanced instruments of labor necessitated the change in the mode of production. For these new implements needed more devoted workmen rather than slaves who were tired of this system and they demanded freedom. So as the time goes on or went on, the slaves demanded their freedom, and hence the slave masters had to look on the other ways of producing. Rather than slaves, they had to hire the people who were ready to produce freely and to be paid. Hence, slave trade was slowing, not so productive. And such opportunity was found in plantation agriculture, whereby one was able to rent a piece, and hence from slavery mode of production we go to feudalism. So you are most welcome. This is Libe Africa TV, the YouTube university about Africa. So this channel talks about Africa, about how the Africa as a continent developed before the integration of the whites, before the integration of the Arabs. Also, don't move away from the channel. We have seen many things about slavery trade. So slavery trade was that the Africans were sold like other items or like kettles. So the Africans were to produce heavily without being paid, without resting, and some of the Africans died on the way. And for instance, here in Tanzania, they were moved from, from Ujiji, walking on foot via Uvinza to Tabora, the way to Bagamoyo, to Zanzibar, where Zanzibar and the Bagamoyo, the so-called Bagamoyo, the present Bagamoyo, was the center market of slavery trade. And hence, there were some effects of slavery trade. First of all, there were depopulation because many people died. Second effect of slavery trade, there were killings because there were some resistances in some places, like in Nyamwezi society, like Iringa there, the Hehe people were so resistant to these ways of humiliations from whites to blacks. Yes, during the slavery trade. Hence, there were depopulation because many people were moved from one place to another places. Fourth effect of slavery trade, there were some intermarriages and some black or African women were raped, and hence there were born some mulattoes, some half-castes, Arabs, or whatever you call. Slavery trade brought of some conflicts between slave masters and the slave themselves. Slave trade made the Africans not to produce for their own. Hence, the decay and decline of the African technology, because there were no manpower in Africa, because the Africans were sent from different corners of the world. So this is Father Ribeiro, the historian, writer, author, and the motivator. Subscribe the channel. This is Libe Africa, the channel full of informations about Africa. So for all who are persuading bachelor in arts, who are persuading masters in arts, and for those who are persuading doctorate in arts or social studies about Africa continent and all about Africa, this is the proper channel. Subscribe the channel. Don't move away. Be inspired by this channel. And you will get a lot of things, a lot of narrations, a lot of lectures from this channel. And it will help you. So also this channel has got a connection with all universities all over the world, where they are teaching African social studies. So I will be just going or visiting to different websites in different universities, whether Africa, Asia, United States of America, Europe, where there are many courses or studies about African social studies. I know California, the State University of America, there are some courses, some programs. So I will be just giving some programs which are found in different universities. We shall be just visiting one university to another university, whether Asia, Africa, Europe, and America. So be inspired and don't move away from this channel. And this channel also will help all tourists who wish to come to Africa to know our good things, to remove the prejudice. So this channel also intends to remove all prejudices among the Europeans to Africa. So we want to build a generation, such a generation which, European generation, which will not carry the prejudices of their grandfathers, grandmothers. So this is Africa. And sometimes if you go in Europe, or if you tell a child, a European child or white child about Africa, they will feel that Africa is the place of wars. Africa is the place of diseases. Africa is the place of poverty, killings. No, that is the wrong idea. The wrong idea of the Europeans, if not Americans, who to Africa. Africa is a peaceful place. Of course, there are countries in Africa in wars, as how also in Europe, or we can say like Czechoslovakia, we can say like Kosovo and other places. There are also fightings. So Africa is a place of visiting. Welcome to Africa. Don't worry and be rich of African continent. Subscribe the channel. Subscribe the channel. Share this video. Subscribe this video and comment with the modesty mood of this channel. Thank you very much. Be inspired. Be blessed.